Welcome back to Barn and Soul, the podcast where love for animals, nature, and honest farm life take center stage. I'm Kendall, and today we're diving into something that comes up more often than you'd think, which is how farming and animals are portrayed in movies and TV, and how that's different from reality. It's a little myth busting, a little storytelling, and as always, a lot of heart. Let's start with the big picture. Hollywood loves a good farm scene. It's either a dreamy pastoral escape like in Charlotte's Web or Babe, or it's a backdrop for isolation and struggle like in The Walking Dead or The Quiet Place. Either way, I feel like it's rarely accurate. I think about Babe, 1995. A sweet story, but heavily romanticized. Clean pens, peaceful pastures, and animals with little to no conflict or mess. Obviously it's emotionally engaging, as it should be for a kids movie, but not quite true to real life animal behavior or especially daily chores. Then there's Clarkson's Farm, which it's a more accurate recent portrayal thanks to the rawness and Jeremy Clarkson's complete lack of experience. It shows the financial stress and the unpredictability of the weather, the bureaucracy, and the sheer exhaustion. It's definitely a start, but still a stylized version with heavy editing and comedic relief. And then there's shows like Yellowstone, which give us glimpses of ranching that are definitely cinematic and brooding. But the day to day care, mud, blood, heartbreak, and joy of animal husbandry is not quite hit. This isn't just an aesthetic issue. A 2017 study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Environmental Ethics found that romanticized depictions of farming in media can lead to skewed public expectations, including underestimating the environmental and emotional labor involved. You know, there's a reason people still move to the country expecting peace and quiet. Pop culture has painted this picture of the farm as an idyllic, slow paced life. But in reality, farming, especially when you're working with rare and heritage breeds, or if you're living off the land, it's constant work, and you're never truly off. Crops fail. Animals get sick, equipment breaks, weather changes everything, and yet this lifestyle is deeply rewarding. Not because it's easy, but because it's real, because it's hard, because it takes time to get right. Movies skip over that most of the time. Even documentaries, like The Biggest Little Farm, while gorgeous and inspiring, it's been criticized for glossing over the real emotional and physical toll of sustainable farming. For instance, several farmers have noted how the film doesn't show the early failures or the learning curve that often takes years to navigate. It simplifies, albeit beautifully. A 2020 article in Modern Farmer highlighted that viewers often romanticize regenerative farming without understanding the high mortality rates of livestock, the burnout, and the unpredictability. These elements are crucial to the story, but often are left on the cutting room floor. Now, let's talk about the animals. Hollywood loves to humanize them, often giving them exaggerated traits or unrealistic relationships with humans. Dogs that save the day, pigs that herd sheep, or livestock that act more like Disney sidekicks than actual animals. A real goose, like Sebastian at our farm, is loud, dramatic, full of opinions, not a graceful background extra. Goats like Sheldon, he's curious, emotional, hilarious, and sometimes destructive. They're not just quirky accessories to the farm aesthetic. The emotional lives of animals are rich but different, and when you care for them daily, you learn how deep and complex their instincts, relationships, and communication really are. For example, researchers at the Queen Mary University of London found that goats can distinguish human emotions and prefer happy facial expressions. That's not something you often see reflected in pop culture. Or take pigs, depicted in Babe as gentle and heroic. In reality, pigs are incredibly intelligent and social, and they also require complex care. Their behavior can vary widely depending on breed and environment, but they, again, are no background character to any farm. So, why does it matter how farms and animals are portrayed? Well, it affects public perception, policy empathy, and even how kids interact with animals. If we raise a generation to think animals exist just to entertain or to serve us, or even to feed us, we miss a chance to teach respect, responsibility, and stewardship. Farms like ours work hard to preserve rare breeds, not just to save them from extinction, but to show that every animal, no matter how, quote, useful, it has inherent worth. Studies have shown that inaccurate media depictions can influence consumer behavior and food policy. According to a report by the FAO, romanticized farming narratives contribute to a consumer disconnection from agricultural realities, leading to poor food literacy and misguided expectations of farmers. That's the story I want to keep telling, or at least one of them, through Dalby Farm and through this podcast. Now, let's be fair, Hollywood doesn't always get it wrong. There are moments, even in the most dramatized scenes, where something true sneaks in. Sometimes it's in the quiet pauses, like when a character silently watches their animals eating after a long day, or when a farm family faces some kind of loss and grief, but finds comfort in their animal's presence. Those moments resonate because they are real. Again, Charlotte's Web. While talking animals are obviously fantasy, the underlying message about the value of life, the beauty of connection, and the bittersweet cycle of seasons and goodbyes, that's deeply reflective of real farm life. And then there's that documentary, Gunda. I think it came out in 2020, which follows a pig and her piglets with no narration, just natural sounds. It's raw and unfiltered. There's no dialogue, there's no embellishments. It's just a quiet, reverent portrait of animal life. Films like that show us what it means to slow down and truly see the animals that are often overlooked. These accurate glimpses matter because they spark empathy. They open people's hearts and hopefully their minds. That's why here at Dalby, we're passionate about creating content that's gentle, honest, sometimes silly, but always respectful to the animals that we deeply care for, and even those that we don't have in our possession and love too. So maybe the real question isn't, does Hollywood get it wrong? But are we paying enough attention to what's real? And that's something we can keep showing, one moment, one animal, one story at a time. I would be remiss not to touch upon farming influencers versus farming reality. One of the biggest shifts in the last decade has been the rise of farming influencers. People who share beautiful clips of their animals, gardens, and daily lives on social media. And listen, I'm kind of one of them. Kind of. I post because I want people to connect with our animals and see this lifestyle, but I want to talk about what's missing between the frames. A 30-second clip of a toddler feeding chickens doesn't show the early mornings or late evenings hauling feed, mucking stalls, late nights worrying about sick goats. I mean, that slow motion shot of a duck swimming in sunshine, it doesn't show the water that needs to be changed, like the pond that needs to be scrubbed, the winter storms that would freeze everything solid. And that's okay. It's absolutely not supposed to, but it's easy to forget that these curated moments are just one little piece of the story. On social media, farms like ours, they are sanctuaries. We are a sanctuary. It's true. But they come with sacrifice, emotional, physical, and financial. I mean, I'm going to get into all of it in detail over time, but the platforms themselves push for beauty, brevity, and algorithm friendly edits, not context, not nuance. I'll be lucky if 100 people hear this podcast episode alone. Sometimes the most engaging post gets the least honest. It's not touching on anything actually based in reality. So what's hard is that when people see only that beauty, they make assumptions that farms are out there thriving just because we're online, that we're fully funded, fully staffed. We must have it all figured out. Nobody gets sick here. We keep everything perfect at all times. No way. In reality, most small farms, just like mine, we're, we're constantly navigating how to keep things afloat, how to survive. The 2023 USDA AG consensus revealed over 50% of small farms operate at a net loss. So while people may see flowers and land and goats and clips of all the cutest things, you don't realize the grind behind every frame. That's extra. That's something someone else had to do on top of the farm work. That's probably me. Um, I'm not complaining. It sounds so spicy, kind of. It's just, I mean, I guess you'd have to walk a day in my shoes. You would have to hear the dozens of people wanting what you have without knowing what it is they're fully talking about. Even still, I appreciate the interest and I will always love to talk about it and show a fuller picture and connect and educate and answer any questions or, right any misconceptions that are brought to my attention. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Next time you see a talking pig, you will know that there is so much more behind that image. Until next time, take care and don't forget to appreciate the rare and wonderful things in life.